morning. We're delighted to join you on a sunny Friday morning to talk about Outer Temple Chambers' new clinical judgment blog. Here with Jonathan Hand, who not only is one of our eminent silks in the areas of clinical negligence and personal injury, but Jonathan, I've discovered an unknown fact that you're also a breeder of rare pigs. Is that right? In what spare time you have?
That is right. I don't think it adds to my qualifications as a clin neg lawyer, but it's a good way to get away from my desk and switch off from things. So,
absolutely. Yes. Well, as a Londoner, I don't know anything about pigs, so I'm not going to take that conversation any further. Let's get to it and talk about the blog. So, first of all, could you just tell me a bit about the blog?
Yes, of course. It's set up to give a summary of recent clin neg judgments as they come out. It just provides a brief outline of the facts, what the judge or the court on, if it's an appeal decision, found, and then a short comment by one of the members of the clin neg team in Chambers. The idea is it's easy to digest and that it's easy to navigate, so it's searchable by case name, issue, court and date and so on.
Yeah, sure. And what was the thinking behind setting it up?
Well, we're all familiar with the search sites, resources like Westlaw and Bailey and so on, but there isn't one particular site that's specific to clinical negligence, and we thought that was a gap, if you like, that we could usefully fill.
Sure. And who's it particularly aimed at, Jonathan?
Well, anyone who's practicing in the field or who has an interest in clinical negligence cases, so solicitors, barristers, students, and people can sign up to the alerts, and we've seen from that the really wide range of people who are interested, which is great to see.
Brilliant. And at our end, behind the curtain, who's involved?
Well, as you know, we have a strong and large team of clinical negligence specialist barristers in Chambers, and they're involved in producing the blog.
Fantastic. And Jonathan, how have you come to spearhead this particular project? What's your background?
Well, starting with my background, I've been practicing in the field of clinical negligence and personal injury for, well, over 20 years now. I act for claimants and defendants across a wide range of work in the field, and we in Chambers came up with the idea, and it's not just myself. There's a sort of team of us who've been working on it, putting the blog together over the last few months until we recently went live.
Okay, fantastic. And just a sort of slightly more sort of personal question, Jonathan. I mean, what led you to pursue a career, particularly in clinical negligence?
Yes, well, what appealed to me and still does is there's the mix. There's the human element, and also there's the challenge of understanding and then presenting what are sometimes really quite complex medical and legal issues that arise in these cases. Sure. So it's to my mind, it's an interesting and stimulating mix and field to practice in.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me a bit more about the team at Outer Temple. They're described as having not merely the numbers to provide strength and depth, but also a range of subspecialisms which give them a real edge by Legal 500 and as modern and organised by Chambers and partners. What does that look like to you?
Well, I touched on it just now. I think we've got a large team of barristers who specialise in this field of work across a really broad range of calls. So we've got a number of silks through to really quite junior members of the team. So I think from an instructing solicitor's client's point of view, I think that's helpful because obviously they can then find counsel of the right call and experience for the particular case. And I think it's important to say as well, it's not just clinical negligence work. There's the broader healthcare work that we do, acting for doctors and other healthcare professionals, for example, in disciplinary work, in employment disputes and so on, which draws on the the other strengths and practice areas that we have in Chambers. And of course, we have a great clerking team.
Right, it's also very much a team effort at our end on the blog, and I think also we're very much driven to look at what we're trying to do to sort of help clients and provide them with useful tools in many different ways. Sarah Crowther obviously is now sort of head of the health department as of last year, and delighted the first female head of Chambers. So that's been great. How has that, do you think, sort of spearheaded the health department?
Yeah, well, just in terms of the blog, as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of us who've been involved in bringing it together, including Sarah. She's been very much involved and a real inspiration to us to get it done. As you know, that's very much her style. And also Ben Bradley from Chambers as well has been involved in putting together the blog. And I think it's a good example of both how we work well as a team, but also Sarah's leadership, getting things done with new and interesting ideas.
Absolutely. And as you said earlier, Jonathan, clinical negligence is such an important area because it both has, issues that are of huge importance from personal perspective and in the individual's lives, and also where there are very interesting legal issues quite often, whether that's about causation, liability or whatever. What's the most memorable clinical negligence case from your career, if there is one? I'm sure they're all
well, there are yes, I mean they all have their very distinct sort of features. In the recent past, the one case that stands out to me because of the individual, the human element, was a case involving a young or teenage girl who suffered a birth injury and has cerebral palsy as a result. But she has overcome her physical disability to pursue sporting interests. She's very talented and she's on the pathway to become a Paralympian.
Amazing.
And yes, and perhaps it's an overused word, but she really truly is inspiring. And when we successfully settled her claim last year, some of the compensation is intended to help her with the additional needs that she has as a result of her disability and pursuing her sporting career and ambitions. And I should be looking out for her in years to come.
Fantastic. I can see why that is the most memorable. That's an amazing example of the good that can be done in seeking the right the right outcomes for clients. So as far as the blog's concerned, what's the next step?
Well, it's an ongoing process, of course, and so as judgments in clinical negligence cases are handed down, we will get them on the blog as soon as possible. We've just posted one in relation to a Supreme Court case in which Elliot Wolfe in Chambers was acting for one of the parties, and we'll keep the blog rolling out in that way in the future. And if people would like to, as I mentioned before, you can subscribe at clinicaljudgment.com to get alerts when new cases are posted on the blog.
Fantastic. Well, Jonathan, thanks very much for that very clear explanation of what the blog's all about. Good luck with the pig breeding on the side. And to everybody, we hope you enjoy the clinical negligence blog. We always welcome any feedback. People want to sort of share their thoughts. If there are ways that we can improve it. And we hope people find it a useful tool. So enjoy the rest of your day, Jonathan. And thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who's already subscribed and to those we hope will find it useful in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.